Good evening. Welcome to episode 82. Wow, episode 82 now of the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Wright, coming to you from the beautiful, comfortable, and now chilly confines of Atlantic City, New Jersey. Wherever you may be watching or listening, I thank you as always. Like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel. You can check the show out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and as well as on Substack. Looking for quick and unlimited access to the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast? Well, look no further than on Apple Podcasts. Listen to the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast on Apple Podcasts. QR code is available for quick access to the channel. Also, check us out on Spotify as well. Thanks. Have a great day. Like I said, guys, a lot of content to get into. Thank you guys as always for watching and listening and plugging in with me. Got another jam-packed episode for you. This one is going to be episode 82. Is going to be pretty much NFL updates. I got some updates for some things coming up. Kind of end of. It's kind of weird because this news was kind of like ancillary news that I kind of missed, kind of like the end of week 5 going into week 7. And I kind of felt like I wouldn't have done it justice to just do one, segment on a long episode. So I kind of want to dedicate episode 82 to kind of like the ancillary NFL news that kind of like seep through that I didn't get to talk about on previous episodes, but I'm going to definitely discuss with you guys now. Because as always, it's the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast. And if it's not hard hitting and it's not factual, it ain't the fucking Blunt Talk Sports Podcast. So hopping right into it. Obviously, you guys know one of the shorts that I dropped, one of the videos I talked about. It's been well discussed all over the media. Robert Saleh being fired from the Jets. The article I have that you can link within the show, you'll find in the show notes in the description, will be from The Athletic and ESPN. It basically just talks about kind of touching on basis on some of the things of what the Jets' plan or outlook is outside of Robert Saleh, post this season. Rest of the season and post 2024 season. And I kind of got to be honest with you. They don't really have a plan for 2025, 2026. This is their plan until their plan, changes. They're kind of taking it day by day, moment by moment, because it's the Jets. And in all honesty, they're a moribund, retarded ass franchise that just can't really get right. I didn't really agree with the firing, as I previously said. Not too shocked that it happened, but shocked when it happened. I kind of thought he was going to be given a little bit more time. It's going to be allowed a little bit more leeway to kind of, earn his keep and not necessarily be thrown to the wolves and not have that opportunity to be the guy going forward for this team. But I guess when you get embarrassed in front of your friends in London, you make a decision that this guy doesn't need to be the guy. Clown shit. But it's the Jets. Again, it's the Jets. Like I said, the future outlook, I don't really believe they have a plan. We don't even know if these guys are even going to be there next year. So I don't really feel there is a plan. I feel like there's a blank slate for 2025 and 2026. And whomever is in that position, may the chips fall where they may, because they're going to be limited on draft picks and cap space. You look further. Okay, now they've acquired Devontae Adams. Let's be real. Devontae Adams is only going to be a Jet as long as Aaron Rodgers is a Jet. How long is that? This season? Next season? What about 3-4 years from now? You see, a lot of these moves that they made, and I get it. I get it. Guys are fighting for their jobs. Robert Saleh's already been fired. Guys are trying to prove that they can do the job, that they're adequate enough for the position and the task at hand. And, I get it. Ultimately, you want to win, because if you win, it guarantees you a job next year. But, draft-wise, I'm thinking about it now while I'm talking to you guys. I'm curious because I don't even know how many picks they have going into next year's draft. And it's funny because you think about how bad they've been offensively, and I mean, hell, how bad they've been with Aaron Rodgers at times. You kind of gotta wonder, like, who the fuck is in the wings? You know, they have Jordan Travis there, my man from Florida State. Love Jordan Travis a lot. I know Jordan Travis was rehabbing from the leg injuries this year, but that's kind of really it. If you're talking about, you know, their outline and their mindset. Looking at the rest of their draft picks, because I want to make sure, because after the Devontae Adams trade, I know a lot of that changed for him. Let's see. Okay. Yes, the Raiders trade. Got it. Trade with the Lions. Got it. Okay. All right. So let me back out of there, guys. Give me one moment. But ultimately, I don't. They're not going to have the draft picks that they need to really compete going forward, because they're giving it up for guys like Devontae Adams and trying to make moves to win. And again, I get it. But some of these trades, I mean, like, some of these trades were fucking horrible. Like, okay, prime example, 2025. They got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They got 7 picks. None in the 7th round. 1 first round pick, 1 second round pick, 1 third, 1 fourth, 1 fifth, 2 6th round picks. And mind you, 1 6th round pick, because one of those 6th round picks they traded to the Chiefs from Mecole Hardman, who didn't do shit for him, but then helps the Chiefs win the Super Bowl a year ago. You know, just bad front office moves. Just bad. Joe Douglas is definitely going to have to wear some of this. Definitely has to wear some of this. Outgoing draft picks, you know, obviously, you know, it's going into 2025. Yeah, you know, the Lions are going to get their 7th round pick for 2025. So tight draft next year. Tight draft. And they're very limited on what they're going to be able to do. And I'm not sure the guy in the wings is there, and I'm not sure that the replacements on some of that offensive line are there. So interesting. Nathaniel Hackett was demoted. Todd Downey was brought in to call the offense. I can obviously tell you, after 1 week of watching him call offense compared to the year and a half I saw of Nathaniel Hackett, it looks like fucking night and day for the Jets. So sky's the limit there. It's definitely great news. And I felt like Aaron Rodgers reacted well to the firing. Not that he wanted Robert Saleh to get fired, but he kind of voiced his opinion, but let it be known, like, I ain't got that type of cachet to come in here and be like, this guy needs to go, this guy needs to go. But now they will be judged off the wins, because you got Devontae Adams now. You know, shit, I haven't even touched on a Hasson Reddick piece. I mean, hell, you know, I have an article in the description for this too. You know, Hasson Reddick. If my memory serves me correct, if I wrote this down, I remember my notes correctly, the Eagles will receive a 2026 second round pick if Hasson Reddick's traded to an NFC team, which all bets and indications look like he's possibly going to the Detroit Lions, in light and in lieu of Aiden Hutchinson suffering that horrific tibia or fibula injury. So that being said, not looking good for the Jets. Not looking good. You made a lot of moves. And some of these moves have helped. Some of these moves have come to fruition, but a lot of them haven't. And you'll be judged accordingly. So, remains to be seen. This next article I'm hopping into, is from The Athletic as well. It's touching on Von Miller being suspended. And I know this is kind of a bit of old news, but because I believe he's only got like 2 games left, or a game left in the suspension. But Von Miller being suspended for 4 games for NFL for, you know, personal conduct. It's not even that he got suspended for personal conduct. That's really the problem. You know, not even sure exactly in detail what that was. It could have been a multitude of things. However, what I really want to harp on is how shitty and bad this fucking trade was for the Buffalo Bills to make for Von Miller. And why do I say that? You know, and I was curious, like, how much of a flop that was his trade. Torn ACL in 2022. No sacks a year ago. And this year he's got 3 sacks. So, call that the knee getting healthy. Call that him playing some inferior talent on lesser snaps. whatever it may be, it's not adequate enough to justify the money he's making in the contract he has with Buffalo. You had to get rid of a lot of guys that you had built homegrown, you know, fertilizing your own water, were in the dirt. And it just seems like now, you know, Von Miller's making $51 million guaranteed. And yeah, I don't remember the last time, like, you know, he played a full season. So, feel bad for Von, but ultimately, man, making a lot of money to not really be there or do anything now. You know, it's kind of like he's starting to feel like he's stealing money at this point. But, you know, we'll see. Next article is going on about VIA Pro Football Talk. This one was a little bit intricate, a little bit deep. Deals with a lot of legalese and you know, sports betting things. I'll hop right into it. Former Jaguars employee Amit Patel is suing FanDuel and others for preying on his gambling addiction. I bullshit you not. This is an actual lawsuit. Yes, it is actually happening. We knew this was going to possibly happen at some point, but it's happening here now. The former employee of the Jaguars is suing FanDuel and his parent company, Flutter Entertainment, Fox Corporation, Boyd Gaming Corporation, and various John and Jane Doe defendants, even typically in regards to a lawsuit where you're suing. Essentially saying that the company disregarded its own KYC, Know Your Customer protocol, and allowed Patel to gamble, which is definitely a big no-no. I've worked in the casino industry before myself. Definitely a big no-no. Furthermore, I thought was even dope was the quotes from the lawyer, from Amit Patel's lawyer. To be clear, this suit does not, and this is quoting, to be clear, this suit does not allege liability on the basis that defendants passively permitted an addicted gambler to use his platform. Rather, this suit alleges violation of statutory and common law because defendants actively and intentionally targeted and preyed on plaintiff with incentives, credits, and gifts to create, nurture, expedite, and or exacerbate his addiction, with the only possible outcome that he would ultimately hit rock bottom. So what is he basically saying? They preyed on him, and because they preyed on him, that kind of forced him into gambling. They knew he had bad habits, and they still knowingly allowed him to bet. Good luck with that. You know, I hear a lot of people do that with casinos and places. It may work, it may not work. Not sure how, but good luck with that. Not sure how that's really going to play out. Amit Patel fucked up. You know, maybe if he'd have tried to sought help early on when this was becoming an issue, maybe he would have help. But stealing of the money and in this too, it all lines up and it's just bad dope. It's bad dope. That's why I make a ticket once in a blue fucking moon, because I really don't have time to be losing my hard-earned fucking dollars to be giving it away to FanDuel or DraftKings or BetMGM. And no disrespect to any of them entities. It's not like they have a gun in my head and they're telling me, oh, I gotta vote or play or wager or put money here or put money on this parlay or put money on this, you know, over under. They're not saying any of that. But you gotta have common sense to know when enough is enough. And granted, embezzling and taking the money he was taking, I bet I would be gambling too. But at the same time, fuck yourself over. Fuck yourself over. Definitely going to keep you guys plugged in on how the rest of that case is going to play out and unfold. But yeah, he's suing the whole damn kit and caboodle for that one. So could be a precedent. Could be just a pissed off, disgruntled employee not getting his way and trying to get something better than nothing. But we'll see. Next, I wanted to touch on drakemaye. Kind of recap a little weird and crazy week that he had. drakemaye started his first game this past week against Houston Texans. They didn't win the game. They lost the game. But drakemaye played decent. He was 20 of 33, 20 completions out of 33 attempts. He had a completion percentage of 60%, 243 yards passing in that game, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. His average pass went for 7.5 yards. So again, not bad. Not bad at all. Pretty good from what you want to see from a rookie. I was shocked. We got to see a little bit of his mobility. And again, that Texas defense is nothing to fuck with. So anything that he did against them, you definitely had to take note and be like, oh, okay. So, he played well against them, but, ultimately Drake May's problem is the Patriots don't have no fucking talent. There's nobody they really can have around him that's actually going to get the job done. Receiver-wise, there's, a lot to be desired. Running game-wise, outside of Ramondre Stevenson, there's really nothing. Yeah. So, I pray for the young boy that he gets it together, but it's going to be a rough sledding for a while for him. Staying technically within Houston, even though, we just recently talking about the Texans. Nico Collins, wide receiver for the Texans, was put on IR. I think that was definitely a huge blow. And he's not out for the season, but it's definitely a huge blow for that Houston offense, who just started to get things clicking and get things moving. This will be a true test of their current receiving core. Can Tank Dell or Stephon Diggs, either or the collective, step up that way? Nico Collins' production is not necessarily mightily missed, but not missed to the point where it's like, well, shit, you think we'd be able to get him back a couple of weeks earlier and risk a fucking injury, but hey, he'll be back in. I don't know. Like I said, I like what they're doing. Like I said, Tank Dell, Stephon Diggs going to have to step up, so we're going to see. Next article I wanted to touch on, this one was via The Athletic, was former NFL Network reporter Jim Trotter. Guy, African-American reporter who had been suing the league for discrimination and bias. I remember his lawsuit been playing out for a couple years. If you know anything about lawsuits, especially this guy, it's not something that's done quickly. It's something that takes, several years before a decision's made. But what I thought was amazing was that the NFL, because the NFL doesn't like trying to take anything to court, big wise, as far as Supreme Court or any real documentation where they got to get discussed and their shit's got to get found out. They rather keep it in the arbitration court. So that way, they kind of control the terms and, to a degree, and things fall where they may. That being said, though, shout out to Jim Trotter. Shout out to Jim Trotter for staying on his morals and, not bullshitting about it. A lot of guys typically use that, and that's their crutch to kind of get ahead in life or to get a little bit further, to try to race bait you or argue race. And, I just listen to Jim Trotter, guys like that who have been reporting for years, who eloquently spoken, educated, quick to the draw, great reporters. When these guys are saying that there's something going on, you got to pay attention to shit like that. Damn the fact that he's a black man. He's a man working for $1 billion corporation saying, hey, something's wrong here and it stinks and they're not telling us. So, again, shout out to Jim Trotter for, his lawsuit and, potentially breaking some barriers. I'm not sure what this is going to amount to because, again, you're talking about the NFL. It's a fucking $1 billion organization. They'll be able to duck and hide behind their lawyers and their rhetoric and their bullshit. But huge win for Jim Trotter, huge win for reporters, and huge win for people of color working in industries of this kind. Discrimination, like I said, is a real fucking thing. And to be able to get the NFL to kind of realize, like, all right, you know what? We kind of fucked up on this one. If we drag this out, we really going to get shit on our shoe and our face. So let's settle it. And, yeah. Like I said, shout out to Jim Trotter for pulling that out and getting all that, coming to something amicable between him and the NFL. I previously touched on Hasson Reddick, and like I said, I'll delve into this a bit further. The condition is, if the Jets trade Hasson Reddick, to an NFC team, then the counteract, would be 2026 second round pick. And this is ultimately what the Jets are going to owe the Eagles for Hasson Reddick not even really playing it down for him, because now that he has a new agent with Drew Rosenhaus, he's going to be able to allow to seek a trade. So, again, interesting to see how that all played out. He never even played it down for him, didn't get the contract, so kind of a wash, basically. This next one was talking about Jerry Jones. His live outbursts on the Cowboys flagship radio station on Monday. He got up the following day at the owners' meetings with the Athletics' Diana Rossini. After those crazy ass comments he made, and pretty much, you know, making excuses, pretty much saying that, you know, he didn't do anything wrong. You know, he was just more or less speaking his mind. And, you know, he expects that from outside people and fans, but he doesn't expect that from people working the inside, which means he doesn't like to be questioned or challenged. Keep that in mind. He's an elderly billionaire, so I should have been forefront, but doesn't like to be challenged. I'm not sure, because I think really what this really even, outside of what to expect, what my expectations may be, I think the bigger problem that really needs to be addressed is Jerry Jones got fucking weight in this league. Jerry Jones low-key run the NFL, and it speaks to an even broader issue of the power he has within NFL circles, which has just become monopolistic at this point. We'd be bullshitting ourselves if, you know, it's crazy. It's crazy. Jerry's running it. Jerry's got a whole stranglehold on this shit, and he ain't letting go. So, he'll be kicking and screaming for a while, but that's just what it is. And ultimately, if they can't fix the issues, it will get worse. And as, you know, a diehard Eagles fan, as a guy who reports on, you know, sports podcasting, I'll damn sure be here for the news and for the clicks and likes, trust me, and for the subscriptions, because, you know, I've been calling this since the offseason that they've gambled with their offseason with their free agent acquisitions. There was no real rhyme or reason to it. It was just like, let's get a guy we think might work and he's affordable, and let's just plug and play. Again, if you're a bad franchise, don't really win, or hasn't used to winning, you can get that off. You're a Dallas Cowboys, ain't really a good look. This one, like I said, I'm going to wrap up the episode on this topic right here, because I think this one is actually near and dear to my heart. Something I've actually been talking about for a while. I have the video within the description so you can check it out. But a day or two ago on the Fox Sports radio show called The Odd Couple, we used to be hosted by Chris Broussard. Rob Parker is now being hosted by Rob Parker and Brother Washington. I forget his first name. I forget his drawing blank on his first name right now. But nonetheless, the content is still great, still funny. And they were talking about a great segment on there, so a statement that I've made a couple of times and kind of got that, you know, that how dare you talk about Lord Shanahan. But I think Kyle Shanahan is obviously the most underrated. Let me correct that. I think Kyle Shanahan is the most overrated coach in the NFL. And it was dope to hear Rob Parker break down some examples. I had different examples of my own, but just to name a few of why, you know, this guy had to go. And like I said, Kyle Shanahan, it's funny because he has this situation where he's known for winning. But if you really pay attention, and this is just within the last 7 games, against the Chiefs, Ravens, Bills, he's 0-7. So he's not just not winning. He's not beating great or important teams. Contracts are becoming an issue for this team. I think the main thing that they've had is they've had to pay everybody, and then now they're not really getting the production out of everybody to justify those contracts, and the team's getting older quick. Brock Purdy wants to ascend and be the guy. You know, make no mistake, as I reported on the show a summer ago when they were flirting with Brady and he was working out, trying to get that elbow correct. And granted, notice I said elbow correct. It wasn't like he played 4 or 5 games and they're like, we're trying to go with Brady. No, they actually were like, hey, you know what? We saw your elbow get blown the fuck up in Philly in January, so might as well take a shot at the GOAT, you know, take a shot at the guy that they feel is the GOAT and try to win a Super Bowl. Pressure burst pipes, man. Pressure burst fucking pipes. That's all I can say. And I think this stat, too, is really an indictment of Kyle Shanahan. 1-30. And that does count the Green Bay victory in January, going back to 2017. He's 1-30. And I'm just like, okay, and why is he 1-30? Oh, he has 1 win and 30 losses when he's trailing by 5 points. And I can't make this shit up. When trailing by 5 points or more in the fourth quarter of a game in the past couple of years. So, it's Kyle Shanahan, man. He's getting away with murder. You know, he's gotten away with the fact that he's made 2 Super Bowls, won a couple of NFC Championship games, been back to some NFC Championship games. And I keep hearing people say, oh, it's like Andy Reid. It's like Andy Reid. Andy Reid got swag, and one thing Andy Reid can admit when his shit don't work. Kyle Shanahan will tell you all the cliche bullshit, colloquial little bullshit that you hear after a game. Oh, it's on me. We got to play better. I didn't execute at a high level with it. And then when that subject comes up, it's no, staunch no. And no, Kyle Shanahan is just the greatest coach ever. Bullshit. I think this guy's been overrated for a while. I think he's gotten away with the fact that he kind of resuscitated the 49ers when they were garbage, but looking at his winner percentage from last year up until a year ago, he's kind of won like 55% of his games, which, again, is hilarious because they're talking as if this man has won 70 to 80% of his games. To hear that, and, you know, some of that's this year, some of that's last year, but he obviously didn't go undefeated within the past 3 years. So, Kyle Shanahan, man, he's been getting away with murder. Like I said, choked in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, choked in the Super Bowl against the Ravens, and choked against the Chiefs twice. And he's responsible for 3 out of the 6 to 7, you know, let me think. Because it's not that he's not winning football games. But when you're really paying attention to the inertia of the things, like, you know, that 1-30 record when trailing by 5 points or more in the fourth quarter, not executing at a high level where the team is starting out slow this year, you know, it's on him. You know, we can keep talking about this team's competing and they're contending and they're in the mix. If they're not winning, all bets are fucking off, and at some point heads are going to roll because you can't have that type of resume or quote unquote resume of success or being known as an offensive guru or genius, and ultimately you've averaged 2, maybe 3 tops real good seasons, and then all the rest of them been mediocre. Maybe it's coaching, maybe it's the coaching style. Either way, I feel he's overrated, and I've always felt he's overrated. He gets away with a lot, especially for a guy that hasn't won. He gets away with a lot. But that's going to do it for this episode. Like I said, it's episode 82. I thank you guys as always for watching. Like I said, check out 4 episodes on the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and as well as on Substack. About to hit the sack. Enjoy the rest of this night. Enjoy those NFL games. Like I said, Week 7 prep. Jaguars Patriots, the London game coming on early 9 a.m. tomorrow. Definitely make sure you stay tuned and watch that. As always, guys, love you guys for plugging in. Like, share, and subscribe. Take care, and enjoy your weekend.